Space Arena. SAGA Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Space Arena Ground Arena, where we cover Star Wars Unlimited from the ground up into space. I'm Banana Crapshoot, and tonight with me, we got the full crew. So, Mr. Ben, how you doing tonight?
Feeling great. Happy to be here.
Cool. Well, Dan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've been sick for like 7 days, and this is my first day not being sick. So I'm super excited to be doing something that is fun instead
And
of
I'm
being sick.
glad you're feeling better. So tonight, I
Sure.
think we're going to talk about some new stuff that was revealed to us yesterday, and then we have a fun exercise we're going to go through. But first, what have you guys been playing? What have you been up to in the gaming world? So, Ben, what's the latest for you gaming wise?
Not a lot, honestly. I have a jujitsu tournament on Saturday. So basically, all my free time has been heading to the gym to get training in. And then when I'm at home, I have a grappling dummy, which is just the creepiest object I own. That thing is horrifying looking. But I have gotten in very little gaming recently. Me and Wit have messed around with set four cards a tiny little bit, but barely more than dipping my toe in. But come Sunday, that's when I'm going to be able to get back to my games that I've been neglecting.
Nice. What about you, Dan? What's your gaming life been like lately?
Mainly SWU and Marvel Champions, and then we had some people over a couple weeks ago, and we got to play. There's a reskin of Pandemic, but with the Clone Wars, and it
Mm-hmm.
adds like missions and some other things, and that was super fun. I bought it like years ago, and we've never gotten it to the table, but we finally got to play it, and then we played it like 3 times in a row because it was so fun. So that's been great.
Nice. For me, my kids got a. So we're big in the public libraries for us. So the kids brought home a chess set. So and it's like a plastic chess set that has like what each that has like the moves on the base that the I thought Ben would like this that the each piece can make. So I've been playing chess with my kids at home, and then had the case tournament for Star Wars Unlimited last week, and then I just hitting up Star Wars Unlimited on Carabast when I have time. My copy of The Last of Us Escape the Dark came this week that I backed like 2 years ago on Kickstarter. I still haven't ripped the wrapper off it yet. I'm planning on doing like an unboxing video, and I just haven't had the bandwidth to set everything up I need to make that like not look like garbage. So, but that's been it for me. I'm talking about some exciting new stuff, right? Yesterday there was a stream and we got some information. There were some previews for set 4 jump to light speed. So did you guys get a chance to see that stuff? Were you up on that?
I am. I did. It was a very exciting video, and there's an article too that has all the cards in it as well, with a little
Mm-hmm.
image wheel. So if you haven't seen it, we could maybe put that in the comment thing.
Sure. And then I thought maybe there was a couple new things, not just card wise, but mechanic wise. So the one that I want to talk about that I think we're probably all pretty excited for is this new piloting mechanic. So do one of you guys want to explain what that is and how that actually functions?
Sure. So piloting works in a similar way to smuggle, in my opinion, where there's an alternative cost on some cards. So there's a card like Chewbacca, who, let me see if I can just share that so people can see it actually. That might be helpful. Like Chewbacca here. He's a 5 cost character that you can play as a 5/6 unit in the ground with an ability, or for piloting, you can play him for 3 cost with like aspect requirements similar to Smuggle, and you play him as an upgrade instead onto a friendly vehicle that does not currently have a pilot. So it gives a lot of flexibility to cards where they can now be a unit or an upgrade. And just a different way to use characters, right? We know when characters come into play, they're exhausted. So this is a way to turn that character into damage the turn they're played, because they can get played onto something that can hopefully attack. So just a different spin. In addition to units, we've also seen leaders that can deploy as pilots. So they've shown us a couple leaders that when they deploy, they can deploy to the ground, or they can deploy as an upgrade as a pilot.
Yeah.
That's that.
Ben, what are your initial thoughts on piloting as a mechanic in the game?
it seems like very low hanging fruit. It's just such a classic integral part of Star Wars. Like, many people's introduction is through the eyes of the pilot, Luke Skywalker. The inclusion of it, I think, is great. I think the sort of meltdown about how pilots count as upgrades, therefore they can die to removal, is a bit overblown, in my opinion. Like, yes, things die to removal, So I'm pretty excited for it. I'm overall optimistic, but it's gonna have all the same drawbacks of like any upgrade. Like if you put too many eggs in one basket and somebody hits that with removal, you can get a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 or something. So there is going to be some skill testing in how you play around it, but like that's what we want in our card games. So overall, I'm very positive about piloting as a mechanic. What are your thoughts?
I'm excited for it. I figured it was coming at some point. The last set Destiny had before that got axed, it had a piloting mechanic, which was basically if one of your characters had piloting, after you activated that character, you could activate one of your like vehicle supports. So it like wasn't like an upgrade, but it was a way to thematically make like Hera pilot the Ghost, right? And that was Jeremy Zorin was the designer for that, and he's working on Unlimited, so I kind of figured at some point that would come. I like the way it's implemented with the units being the dual deployment. It's the first time we've seen an alternate deployment for those leaders that they can, like Dan said, they can deploy as upgrades or to the ground arena like normal. So it's the first time we've seen that. That's pretty cool. So I like the decision point, and I think it's going to be skill testing when you're using those piloting leaders, since it gives you another choice. That adds another layer to the gameplay and the depth of the game. So I'm excited for it. Dan, what are your piloting thoughts?
I'm less excited than everyone else. I think it's cool, but I've now played 3 Star Wars games where when they implemented piloting, they became upgrades onto vehicles. And in every single one of those games, it was less the upgrade removal that people seem up in arms about, right? Confiscate exists, so the fact that you can deploy your leader and they can get blown out for 1, that sucks. But Rival's Fall exists, and I know it costs 6, but we already have to be careful with when we deploy our leader. So if they only have 1 resource, maybe you use your leader as a body instead of an upgrade. I get that, and I appreciate that opinion. But the bigger problem for me in all those other games is I would always never use the pilot cards, because when I attached them to things, then that thing would just get removed. It made regular removal even stronger, right? Like Vanquish now, if I deploy Boba on 6 onto a ship, they don't even have to have 6 to Rivals Fall me. They just vanquish the ship I attach it to. And that can be pretty painful. But one thing that I think people are overlooking that they did that really helps with this is we've seen 3 pilot leaders so far. So here's the Boba Fett leader on the screen now. So he's got some ability when he's in undeployed form, and then he can deploy as just a 4/7 vanilla body, which isn't too bad for a free body. Or he can deploy to a ship as a +4/+4. That could be really great for sneaking 4 extra damage in, but he has a when deployed effect. So if anything, you can deploy this as a like super event that changes the fate of the game. And then if he gets removed, but you got that event off, right? And I think that the Han leader has a similar thing, has a when deployed event. The only one we haven't seen that has that, I think Ventress they've revealed, and she does not have like a when deployed ability. So I sort of wish they had all had these when deployed abilities, at least the ones that are leaders. The ones that are units I don't mind as much, because you've already got to play around and make smart choices there. But I do agree with people. It would suck to have your leader removed for 1. I think it would suck even worse to have your leader 2/1. And you should play around that, but it limits the leaders, which is a little sad to me. I wish there was a cleaner, maybe this is the cleanest way, but I wish there was a more elegant way to empower the leaders instead of making the leaders feel less significant, which is what I feel like these pilot ones feel like so far. But once we have the whole set, it might be completely different.
Well, there's one line in the article there when it talks about piloting that it says that when you play that unit, your leader, when you deploy that leader unit onto your vehicle, that unit now becomes the leader unit. So I'm taking that as anything that says non-leader, right? So like Vanquish, I don't think would work.
So Vanquish won't work then. They've got a Rivals Fall still. Good.
Yeah, you still have to Rivals Fall. So that there is a little caveat there, but I mean that could just be, I don't know if that's correct. That's what was written in the article, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's correct.
That was
I'm
my
excited, but I'm
understanding.
anxious because it's always not worked out. So the fact that it's not worked out 3 times in a row and then the same decision was made leaves me somewhat puzzled.
Ben, what were you
I
saying?
will concede that I have not played these other Star Wars games that had the piloting mechanic used in the exact same way. And I think if this was like the third time I was seeing this implementation, that would probably tamper my enthusiasm to some degree. So I hear where you're coming from.
It's only the third time from this company. It's the fourth time overall. So, I mean, they got one more try before they catch up. And they'll always be one behind, so it's okay. I do think it's exciting. I actually think upgrades are undervalued right now, and people undervalue how strong upgrades can be because there's only so much upgrade removal before it's not there anymore. But I'm I'm eager to see the rest of the set to see how they work out.
And then another new mechanic that was talked about in the article is this concept of indirect damage. Did you guys have a chance to look into what that is at all? Did you see it on any of the cards or read into it at all?
Yes. So indirect damage is like spread damage. So if something says this character deals 4 indirect damage to your opponent, they get to spread that damage amongst their unit and base. So it's kind of a way to get big numbers out there, but your opponent gets to choose where those numbers go. Again, this is a carryover from Star Wars Destiny. It's a carryover from Marvel Champions. There's a ton of games FFG has made that have indirect damage. And one of the things they told us in the stream, I believe, is that indirect damage bypasses shields. So you cannot absorb indirect damage into a shield. And that's something that I feel like changes with every game. Some games allow you to absorb it into a shield, and they have special rules about that. Sometimes it bypasses the shield. I think ultimately bypassing the shield's really smart because you can bypass 1 damage with the shield, but then you keep your shield there, so the unit still can survive 2 attacks. So it lets the damage get in, but it also favors the player, like they get to keep their shield. So it makes it a little bit even both ways for the person attacking and the person being attacked.
Yeah, I think it makes sense mechanic wise for it to be unpreventable. So like in Destiny, right? You could have 3 shields, and each shield could absorb like 1 damage, right? If you had 3 shields and you took 4 damage, you got rid of 3 shields and you still took a damage. Where in this game, your shield absorbs all instance of that, like one whole packet of damage, right? So if I'm dealing 6 indirect to you, you could assign all 6 to that one unit and eat it all in a shield, and that would really make indirect suck. So, and it would really overpower leaders like Luke. So I think that doing it that way was smart. Ben, what are your thoughts on indirect damage?
As a general rule, I tend to be pessimistic about anything that gives my opponent choices like control over my actions. But I've also played like Power of the Dark Side. Sometimes giving your opponent a choice is okay. So I think it's gonna have its place, but I'm a little bit more pessimistic on it than I am on piloting. I just not necessarily as a mechanic, but for me as a player, I tend to not like giving my opponent full control over something as critical to my game plan as like where the damage goes. So lukewarm from me.
I think it's really strong with Vigilance. There's so many cards in Vigilance that defeat a thing that has this much health or less, and they all have different thresholds. So if your opponent is planning for takedown, or they're planning for Vigilance, but you had a takedown, you can still take down their thing. So it puts a lot of brain pressure on your opponents, and then they don't know what solutions you have in your hand, so they don't know actually how well to distribute the damage, and you can catch them distributing it incorrectly pretty easily. At least that's my assumption, at least with Vigilance. We'll see if that works out with the other aspects as well, but
That
I'm
sounds
excited for that at
really
least.
fun.
I'm looking forward to it with like Cad Bane because like his ping is already indirect damage because the other player can assign it. So I'm hoping there's some good underworld units that do indirect damage, so I can build off of that. Anything else on Jump to Lightspeed that we saw that you guys want to touch on before we move on?
Han, Falcon, and Chewie are rebel traded. Finally. Been waiting, and it's happened, and I'm very excited. That's it.
Yeah, we got our 3rd Millennium Falcon. Yeah. And
Our 3rd Chewbacca.
And our 2nd Fire Spray. Yeah. It's the 4th Chewbacca if you count the leader.
If you count the leader,
right?
yeah, it's true.
So
I mean,
a lot of
you gotta
Chewies and
play
a
the
lot of
hits,
Hans.
man. You gotta play the hits.
They never
It's
go
true.
out of style. All right. Let me bring up the next thing we're going to do. I don't know if you guys have an idea. Any guesses on what this exercise is going to be?
No. A tier list. I'm just kidding.
Nope, that's your deal. So what I did, Ben, do you have any guesses?
No, you said it was going to be random, and I was like, all right, I didn't even speculate. I'm
So
ready to be
what I did is
surprised.
we are gonna. I don't know if this is gonna be fun or not. I thought it would be fun, so we're gonna do it. Right here on this wheel is every leader in the game.
Oh my gosh.
So we're gonna spin the wheel and we're gonna do a deck build for that leader live on the show. So
All right.
But-
Yeah, that
and we
sounds like
each have
fun.
different, like, I think this will be fun because we each see the game a different way. Like I've said to like my play group, I've said to Saga East, I don't know how many times, like after I have conversations in Discord and stuff, it's like I feel like sometimes I'm playing a different game than these people, right? So I think like we all have three different mindsets and views and way we build and play the game. So I think this will be fun to see how those clash. So we're gonna spin for the leader, and then we're also gonna spin for the aspect. Um, and then we'll go from there. So the only leader I don't have on here is Boba Fett because he's suspended. So Boba 1 is not on here, but
Get him
every
on
other
here.
leader is
Fair.
on here. I wanted to
That'd be
make it
so
Premier
lame.
League. So here we go. There's the spin. Looks like it's going to be Yoda. So we're going to build a Yoda deck. Alright. So Yoda. And then, and I have a SWU one up too, so we'll do that. I have that in the... Alright, so then, obviously, the aspects. So we'll see what aspect we get.
What are we rooting for here? Oh, there it is.
Aggression. So we're gonna build Yoda aggression. So this is the Saga SWU page, which has
Nice.
0 decks, as you can see. So this will be our first one. So Yoda. And for an aggression base, do you guys want to do? So here's where it starts already, right? Do you guys want to do a rare base or a 30 health base?
I think Yoda flips kind of late, so I'm inclined to want to do a 30 health base, but you are vigilant, so you could bring a lot of healing. So I'd be fine anyway.
I'm also inclined for 30 health bases.
I would agree with Yoda's late deploy.
I just like big bases.
You like big? I like
And I
big
cannot
bases.
lie.
I like big base.
Thank you.
Wookiees, and I cannot lie. Yep.
Be here all night.
Let's do this one. All right. How do you guys want to start? Where do you guys start when you're deck building?
I have two methods. So one method is I include all the staples for the colors, but I find that that's very boring. When I build those decks, like whatever the color combination is, I end up with like the same deck, and then I have to figure out what's going on. And the second way is to figure out like what is the like hook or combo or like goal of my deck going to be? Is it going to be to mill? Is it going to be to discard from hand and put pressure on them? So I would say we should pick like what's the goal of the deck? Not just the goal of like is it going to win or lose, because we all want it to win, but what is our strategy to getting to that win condition?
I mean, I think we got to go heavy removal to make Yoda's action reliable. So I feel like some sort of control deck, obviously. I don't know how reliable mill is with heroes. I guess you with Satine, you could go straight hero mill and heavy removal.
I mean, you can also play cheap units. Like, we don't necessarily have to kill our opponent's units with events. We can play our own units, I guess, and like deal combat damage. Which, and that way, sometimes you could even just like torpedo your own guy. Just crash him in, let him leave play to get a Yoda proc off. And there are some pretty nice heroism vigilance units for sure, like low cost guys.
Yeah, the other thing to think about is like what does this hero do well, right? What things always go with Yoda? So something that almost always goes with Yoda is "You're my only hope," because he's going to peak at the top of his deck a lot, and we will want removal or good value trading to be able to set up his ability to know what's on top of his deck. But then with "You're my only hope," we can put 5-cost things on top of our deck, like turn 2, hopefully, and then play that thing turn 2. So it's almost like his own version of now there are 2 of them, but he gets it through this other event, "You're my only hope." So I like to put "You're my only hope" in there, and then some 5-cost targets and see what makes sense. It's just a very powerful card with Yoda. I feel like it's hard to run Yoda without that.
Yeah, I
Along
agree.
those
I
same
think
lines, R2 should probably be in there. I mean, he kind of checks both the boxes. He's like a small body that could potentially stick around or trade,
Mm-hmm.
as well as giving us the scry effect.
And then I'm going to pitch an idea here. You can tell me if this is crazy. The other card I haven't seen a lot of people use with Yoda yet, but I think is actually strong with him in aggression, is, and we'll see if this works out. We might remove it later, but for a cause I believe in. Right? You get to look at the top of your deck, do a bunch of stuff with it, deal damage, know what's there for his ability. It only works if we have a lot of heroism. So we'll see what we end up with in the end. You might want to remove it or just put it in the sideboard to start with and see if it makes sense, but it's one that I like.
Thinking about the flip side of Yoda, we probably do want some bombs in there. And of course, Luke, if you're going to play blue heroism. I mean, I've played Luke for 9 in a non-heroic deck and been pretty happy with him, so I think playing him without the aspect penalty seems pretty good.
yeah, Luke for sure. I think probably Chewie too, even if it's just as a 2-of, because we could also smuggle him in late game. So if we have like a really expensive hand early, he's one you can resource, and then he also has removal attached to him when played. So I don't know about a 3-of, but I think as a 2-of, Chewie's solid here.
I'd be happy starting him as a 2.
We probably want to go Obi-Wan, right? I feel like we're probably going to be force heavy, right, with Yoda.
Yeah, I think you've got 2 choices, right? You can go force heavy or rebel heavy. Right now we've got R2 and Luke.
Yeah.
If we want to go force heavy, it's pretty nice because if you could put Obi-Wans in there. I'm a big fan of Jedi Lightsaber. I'm a big fan of R2 and then Jedi Lightsaber on him if you're not playing against Blue Villain because he becomes a very difficult body to remove. But yeah, I think Obi's are a good call.
Well, let's talk Rebels or force heavy. Do you guys want to have reliable force throws throughout the game and like pillage and be able to rip the hand apart too?
I'm a big fan of force throw, just because we can also use that as removal once we get a force body out there. I do like pillage, but I feel like with Yoda, when you're trying to survive till turn 7, sometimes pillage is too big of a tempo hit. You have to be dropping bodies or removal to like get to that turn 7. Like pillage is something you can run on a lower deploy leader or a leader that has a lot of really, really good early. I don't mind sideboarding it and deciding later. That's another thing I do when I'm building on the deck builder is I put like everything I'm not sure of in the sideboard, and then later I have to figure out what actually makes it into my deck. So my maybes go in the sideboard, I guess.
Regardless if we fully commit to Rebels or not, the restored arc is 2/3 for 2. It's heroism, so it plays into for a cause if we end up running that, and just a 2/3 body in space that can restore is very solid, whether we care about the Rebel tag or not.
I think on the same line, if we're going in, the Concord Dawn Interceptors, I think, are a must-have for a Space Sentinel. It's really good.
I do like Sentinels.
Obi-Wan's Ether Sprite, I think we should look at as an option because in a world where Django and space heavy decks are a thing, Obi-Wan's Aether Sprite is pretty good at holding down.
Yeah, so many of those things have 2 health. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. And another one to think about is, I can't believe this thing's a common, the Senatorial Corvette. It's a 5/4. This is a little more aggressive with the 5/4 with Saboteur, but the one defeated. It's like a darned if you do, darned if you don't thing, right? Because if you don't deal with it, it's going to smash your face, but if you deal with it, it's going to tear your hand apart. So it's another one to think about too.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any other
Redemption's
5 drops that
looking
I'd
at.
want to run.
Yeah, I think
I see you highlighting Redemption there, and the cost with Yoda, potentially if we end up doing force throw stuff.
Even without force throw, like on deploy, he can just delete
Heal
pretty
is
much
so
anything.
good. Yeah.
Can you scroll up to the deck list really quick?
Yep, so far, that's what we got. When I'm in the deck builder, like I do it different when I have my cards in my hand, but when I'm in the deck builder, I usually start in space. This is weird, but I start in space, and I'll get like 9 to 12 units that I think would work well in the deck, and then I move to my event package next, and then I finish in ground and upgrades. I don't know
I feel
why.
like that's a really good suggestion because I don't do that. And then I start adding things I want to my deck, and then all of a sudden I look over at my deck and I'm like, oh, 40 ground units. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Then I remove a couple,
Yeah.
figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah, I usually start in space, and I'm like, all right, what space units do I want to have to make this thing work? And I usually go with like somewhere between 9 and 12, depending on the deck. Sometimes, very rarely, do I go more than 12, 14 maybe. And then I'll usually head over to the event package and be like, all right, now building off of that, how do we make this work? I think we probably
Right
want...
now, I noticed that we're lacking some interaction. We probably need some more removal,
Yeah.
right? Seeing as how
Yeah,
we
are you
have none.
thinking event removal or are you thinking bodies that trade well?
Well, if we go the force path, then the forces with me is awfully good. It's hard to say no to cards like Vanquish and Rival's Fall anytime you're running Vigilance. So that might just be my event heavy blinders, but those are certainly things that I'm feeling like we could probably use a little bit more interaction. Or let's throw those lightsabers in and lean into making our units a little more beefy. What is our like main game plan? Are we trying to guarantee that we can kill at least one thing like every turn for Yoda pop-offs? Because if that's the case, then we probably do want at least some event-based removal so we can force that through without having to always trade.
I think we definitely want some event removal.
It's hard for me to play blue and not play takedown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of takedown in this deck.
2 or 3.
I would do 3, personally. Although a lot of the new leaders have real big butts, so Sabine still exists, so it still exists. But
We probably want vigilance, right?
I do 1 or 2 vigilance just because the healing's good. But I feel like 6 is a really crowded turn in red-blue.
Yeah, for sure.
It's hard because sometimes you could play the vigilance, or you could just play the Obi and avoid that 5 damage and get 2 XP and a force on something, or 2 XP and a card draw. So depends on the matchup a little bit.
All right, I'm adding one of some of these events so that we have them in the deck, and then we can
That's fair.
adjust as we need.
What do you think about open fire? We get access to that.
That's
really
probably pretty good. Hello there is also another one. It's almost like another open fire.
I have decided that I don't like Hello There, even though I said I loved it like 2 weeks ago. I've decided I really like Perilous Position better than Hello There.
Perilous Position is really good.
It only does -2/-2, but when the meta is a lot of really small units, that's good enough to let our units trade up, or to slow down damage to us, right? If it exhausts something that had 4 attack and gives it -2, you've just avoided 6 damage, because you exhausted it, and next round it's only going to hit you for 2. Which is a pretty big swing for only 3 cost.
And if we go force heavy, I think Mystic Reflection. I think this is a super underplayed card. So I'm going to put it in the sideboard for now.
And that
You
is
guys-
hero tagged, which I do really like the for a cause potential inclusion, although so much of those good blue cards don't give us those hero tags that we want. Actually, none of our removal suite gives us the hero tag we want. But I guess
Yeah, I
Mystic
think
would.
if you do for a cause, you have to go with unit heavy removal. And I think if you're going to
Yeah.
do that, my recommendation would be, this is crazy in non-Hera, but taking like the Spectre package, right? We get Kanan, we get Ghost, we get Sabine, and we get Zeb. Sabine is really good at, like, if they're going to play Greedos, right? You could attack the Greedo and pop him off before he gets to hit you back. Even if he discards something, Sabine lives. So helpful when you're on initiative. Zeb, you can knock off 2-for-1 trades with him. But this is all assuming your things are going to live and not get exhausted, which is a lot of assumptions. So I don't know if that's the way to go, but it's an option.
I do like Kanan regardless of if we do.
I like
other
Kanan regardless because he's got the
Spectre
force
stuff.
trait.
Yeah, Kanan regardless,
Did-
I agree.
Did we ever put those lightsabers in? I don't think we did.
We did not do any upgrades yet, I don't think.
Jedi
I
lightsaber.
also really like entrenched, but that's again getting away from the heroic stuff, the heroic tag.
Throwing it out there. There it is. I'll put it in this side for now. And we can put entrenched in this side as now.
I'm going to do some browsing real quick. Ignore me while I read cards to myself.
Oh, you're
We
good.
probably can't get away with Wrecker, right? Because
I
we
don't
gotta
think we
remember
want
what
him
his text
destroying
is.
our own. With no ramp, like I'm not a huge fan of
Yeah,
Wrecker
that's what I'm
without having
thinking.
ramp because I don't like destroying my own resources. Right now
Or
we're very
when he's
blue
your
heavy.
top end.
Right now we're very blue heavy, so Quill's an option. We only have like 2 red cards main boarded at the moment.
No, because Kuil wants them to match red, right? He, if
Oh,
it
yeah.
matches your base, he
Yeah.
draws it.
Yep.
Yeah. I've made that mistake before and taken it to a tournament. Don't worry.
The new Sabine, though, the yellow one, she doesn't want it to match your base to deal the damage.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, they do not. Yeah.
They're the opposite. Yeah, Quill was a dumb suggestion. Dumb suggestion. There's a lot of good options here, man. I think
Scroll up to the deck list again.
I think Yoda, right?
Yeah, definitely Yoda. If we're doing force trait stuff.
Seems like that's the direction we're heading.
So I'm gonna make a pitch for Razor Crest.
I mean, I'm always down for, especially if we want to have entrenched and perilous position as options.
Well, defending space is super important.
Yep.
And this lets you play like really fast and loose with lightsaber. You don't have to save it for a force unit. Like if you draw poorly, you can throw that lightsaber in R2, and if they remove it, you're like, cool, I get it back later and play it on something else. Even if you get it back and just use it as a resource, it's just like hand advantage. And it's beautiful with perilous position because you like kill a thing with it and then return a removal back to your hand, and it's amazing. The other thing with Yoda is there's a bunch of ways to get to the end game. Right now we're kind of, and maybe this is a thing I should bring up. We're in like 3 different methods of it. We've got a little bit of Sentinel, right? We've got Obi-Wan. We've got a lot of Restore. We've got Restored Arc and Yoda and Razor Crest and Kanan. And we've got a little bit of removal. And I don't know if we want to like go all in on all 3 of those methods or pick 2 of them to really focus in on so you have a consistent deck.
It does seem like if we stepped away from the event-based removal, I mean, I think open fire should probably stay regardless and maybe takedown. But if we kind of trimmed some of the more flexible removals, we're trimming a lot of those cards that don't have the hero tag, which would open slots for potentially bringing in that for a cause. Because if you look at our units, they're like all heroic tag.
I would get rid of Vanquish. I like Vanquish, but Rival's Fall does the same thing. And the combination of Takedown and Fell the Dragon also do the same thing. Either you can take down it or you can probably Fell the Dragon it. So I'd be a fan of like getting rid of Vanquish, which you already did.
Maybe go to 2 takedown. And then between
You
like
wanna go up
Rivals
to 2
Fall.
Fell or stay at 1 Fell?
Well, 1 Fell, 1 Rivals Fall, 2 takedown, and 2 open fire. I feel like that's a pretty good.
Cool. The other nice thing about For a Cause with Yoda isn't just like setting up your Yoda ability, but if you use your Yoda ability, you can, like, even though you are running, like, let's say 8 non-heroic cards, normally people might say, oh, that's too much, your For a Cause is going to be inconsistent. But now Yoda can make sure that a heroic card is on top of your stack. So when you play For a Cause, it can still at least boost a little bit of damage. Not amazing, but it exists.
All right, fellas, I'm sorry to do this, but I have to go get my kid from work.
All right.
It's unfortunate timing. But all right.
Dad,
Now
dude,
we can
we'll
remove
speak with
all
you.
those events. Just get them all out of there now.
Yeah.
Dad duty.
Yeah.
It happens.
Family calls.
Yep. All right.
Later, fellas.
We'll make him play this deck later.
Yeah,
His
he's
kid.
got to play it. Yep.
That's his homework now.
All right. So now we'll get rid of all the events, all the removal.
Oh, no.
Man, I wish Barris was more than just a 1/1.
What do you think about 3PO?
I think if you're running the R2, I think C3PO makes sense.
I think Yoda can put whatever you want on top of your deck, and then 3PO just draws it, right? Like, even if you don't get the R2, you seed your deck to get card draw, which seems I'm okay with.
So I think maybe we're very, other than like Yoda and Obi-Wan, right? Everything, and Chewie, I guess.
And
very-
Razor Crest and Interceptors, yeah.
We're very
Rebel-y.
rebel-y, yeah. So I think we just lean into that. So what do we got to change?
That's the case. I recommend we drop Razor Crest and Lightsaber,
Oh man,
and instead, maybe we keep Lightsaber, but I would drop Razor Crest for Wing Leader, because it's still a great turn 2 play that lets us make our R2 or our C3PO huge.
mm-hmm.
But I don't know if we can afford that many spots. I mean, maybe we can afford that many spots in space, but we're already at 45 cards, so I feel like we can't. If we're trying to sneak in the 4 cause.
Yeah.
The other thing I don't love here is looking at our ground and space units. There's nothing that costs 5.
Yeah. So
That
it
feels
makes
a little bad.
Yeah, it makes our For My Only Hope terrible.
So I would either get rid of For My Only Hope or sneak something in there. 5 cost rebels are like Zeb. Let me peek really quick.
Vigi Honor Guard, and that's like it. Snow Speeder.
For rebels, I think that might be it. Yeah.
Or do we just dump rebels and just make this a You're My Only Hope deck and just load as many 5 costs as we can? Like Rey, Mundi, Poe. Just load up on, and Zeb even, and just load up on, like, have 20.
What do you do if you... Well, actually... So this is turning into a really cool deck. If we load up on You're My Only Hope, and only take heroic units, then when we play for a cause, we can use that to, like, find our You're My Only Hopes faster. Because we can just, if we don't find a You're My Only Hope, discard the 4 cards, and now we're 4 cards closer to the event that we're looking for. And between that and Yoda cycling through things, you might be able to cycle through stuff really quick. So,
Okay.
like, yeah, get rid of Wing Leader. I like your idea here. You're onto a banger. Who needs this removal if we're just gonna go wild, playing things? Yoda's not even gonna flip. He's just there for his undeployed ability.
He's there for the memes. So then let's load up on these 5. So I think if we want to hit, I think we need at least 3 5 drops. I think we need like 15, right? I feel like that's a good, for what I found with, like, now there are only 2 of them. I feel like 15.
One, like, it reduces it by 5, so it doesn't have to be turn 2 plays, but
Right.
We want things that are 5 or higher, right? Do you want to just, like, get rid of everything that's not heroic?
Kind of.
Ben, our vigilance villainy player is very mad at us right now. Oh, I meant in the display column, just like, I like this too. Yeah, get rid of all those events. This is really funny. We told them we were going to do it jokingly, and now we actually did it. So we can move 4 cause up, because we've now changed everything.
This is awesome. This is going to be awesome. All right, so then Rey goes in.
Yeah. Poe?
Poe goes in. Anakin. I like Mundi, but he's not heroic. So I
I
feel
don't
like
know if Anakin's going to... I don't know if we're going to hit the coordinate.
probably not.
He's still 6'6". What about the Armorer? Do they only give shields to Mandalorians? Ah, it sucks.
Yeah. Zeb, I mean, a 5/5 that's going to deal damage to a ground unit, so that has some removal built into him.
Yeah, I mean, a 5/5 turn 2 is pretty good. So is a 6/6, right? I mean, it's hard to know.
Yeah. I feel like that third spot is either Anakin or Zeb, where Anakin potentially gives you card draw.
Well, did you say 15 5-drops? How many do we have so far?
Oh, yeah. So 12.
There aren't enough heroic ones. Snow Speeder, meh.
I think
Actually,
that's
wait.
good. I think maybe,
4 is enough.
yeah, I think good 12 copies. Yeah, I was thinking like 3 cards, 3, so 9. I don't know where I got 15. I think 12's enough.
Is there anything else that lets us go through our deck faster? That's not just we don't want like mission briefing. That's not nah. But R2, 3PO,
4 cause. You're my
4
only hope.
cause, A New Hope, and there's a lot of passive card draw. I'm big on like I used to not realize this, but having Yodas and Obi-Wans in there turns into like a lot of just like hand advantage coming back to you.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to think of if there's anything else that draws. We're gonna do a searchy here really quick. This is really good entertainment when they can't see what I'm searching.
I mean, Anakin. I mean, Mundi, but he's not heroic like we talked about.
Yeah, I'm thinking of things that like draw when we play them or when they're defeated, because then our opponent has to deal with them. I don't think we want heroic sacrifice.
Mm-mm.
There's black 1, but again, I don't think that's not what we're looking for. There's cripple authority, but that's only if we're playing against a ramp deck. What is the traits on For a Cause? Can you read that to me?
For a Cause is just innate.
It's not a tactic. I was gonna say Stila. That could be cool. If there's one non-heroic card we're gonna include, would it be Foresight?
That's that upgrade that lets you look at the card, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it lets you look at a card, but it's like at regroup, you name a card.
Yeah.
Before you draw. And if the top card of your deck is that card, because Yoda placed it there, then you draw it. So in a Yoda deck, I feel like it turns into a draw 3 cards upgrade.
Well, even off of like For a Cause or R2, like there's ways to make that work.
Yep. Doing some quick search-a-rooing over here. For a Cause, we have both those. I think that's like all of the Skyring stuff that we're gonna get. Can I see the deck list again? What are we at? Like 90 cards? Yeah,
53.
That might be the problem.
We're at 53.
So let's see. How many upgrades are we at? Do we still have lightsabers and stuff?
I went down to 2 lightsabers and we're at 2 Foresight at the moment. And then the sideboard we have Entrenched, Perilous Position, Pillage, and Razor Crest.
Do you think Reflection is worth it when we only have 4 Force units?
Probably not, no.
Or Raise Force too, so 5 Force units. I don't know.
1,
I feel like it
2,
probably doesn't help us as much as we want it to.
5.
I would rather that be Cripple Authority or something that just lets us like, or even Heroic Sacrifice, because it draws a card and then does its ability.
Yeah.
Like anything that lets us like dig through our deck faster to make sure we find those You're My Only Hopes. It's gonna be
I think
our
Heroic
key.
Sacrifice is more reliable than Cripple Authority.
Well, Cripple Authority draws no matter what, right? It just only discards if you have less resources.
Yeah.
I think.
That's correct.
I'm having a hard time remembering. What are we at card-wise? Are we 53 still?
Yeah. Maybe 2 are.
Well, we've only got 9 first turn plays. So I think we got to keep the R2s in there. Because I think if we don't remove something, then we can't set up our You're My Only Hope. And if that's the case, then like we should get rid of everything that's expensive because we want to make sure You're My Only Hope hits. We want to be able to set it up so that it like hits the right thing. I could go to Redemption. That wouldn't upset me.
That's a good call.
I could go to Obi-Wan, probably. I have a hard time going to Luke's anytime. I was really hoping to fit Razor Crest back in, because I feel like 8 space units is pretty light. Is there anything space at 6 or 4 that would be good? Because I think even getting a 4-drop off You're My Only Hope isn't the end of the world.
I mean, the Aether Sprite at 5 would be the other
I would
one.
like to have the Aether Sprite in there and drop something. I'd even be okay dropping Lightsaber, but something's got to go. Or sideboarding it for now.
Or 51.
51. We're so close.
Maybe 2 Canons.
You know, I like Zeb, but like we now have 15 5-drops. Could we drop him to 2?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I feel like turn 2, I would rather hit a Kanan off You're My Only Hope than a Zeb, right?
Yeah.
Because the restore.
Maybe we can go down to 1 Zeb. Like, and put Razor Crest back in.
1 of Razor Crest.
Or 2 and drop something else down a spot.
This is madness. Is that in our soundboard? We gotta get that one. Is this legal?
I don't think that's in the soundboard. I'd have to play them all to remember what they all are. Maybe one Chewy.
One Chewie's probably fine. I don't know if we're playing to flip Yoda. Like, if we flip Yoda, that's great. But I think we're playing to see if we can have You're My Only Hope go off 3 times.
I agree.
What do you think about sideboard for a deck like this? What do we want? I mean, I guess, are we locked in with where we are? Do we know?
I don't think we know, but I'm good with this. Like, I think, like,
I'm happy.
I think if we're all in on You're My Only Hope, I think this looks pretty solid.
I think so too.
You know, in late game, you could get like a free redemption or something. That'd be pretty cool. I think the Foresight's good. I think for my only call, we have a lot of cycling and deck fixing.
You know what? Maybe now that we only have Foresight, should we get rid of Razor Crest and just go to? Are we at 3 Aether Sprites, or are we only at 2?
We're at 2. Yeah, if we're only at Foresight, there's something else we want. It's a good like 3 or 4 drop.
Our Concord Dawns are still in there, right?
Yep.
I had 3.
Yeah.
And literally every unit is heroic. It feels like that makes sense. I'd also be okay with it being an A-Wing. Because that gives us one more turn 1 play. And if we're going up against a Django or something in space, then that makes sure that we can kill something to like let Yoda set up his You're My Only Hope. I don't know what the right answer there is, but I like A-Wings. They're good.
Yeah. So then I added 2 A-Wings. That takes us to 12 space units. So 2 A-Wing, 2 Restored Arcs, 3 Interceptors, 2 Aether Sprites, 2 Redemptions.
Mm-hmm.
And 28 ground units, 3 R2, 3 3PO, 3 Yoda, 3 Kanan, 3 Anakin, 3 Poe, 3 Rey, 1 Zeb, 2 Obi-Wan, 3 Luke, 1 Chewie. And then 8 events, 2 Heroic Sacrifice, 3 4 Cost, 3 You're My Only Hope, and then the upgrades are 2 Foresight. So if we're all in on the You're My Only Hope play main deck, maybe the sideboard leans more into the removal package thing.
Yeah, I feel like I would definitely want Perilous Position in the sideboard, because not only is it removal, even if it's like a game where you don't want to pivot to removal, but you're like, I need a little bit more time. Like, that reduction of 6 damage is so big.
Yeah. So maybe our sideboard's like Perilous Position, Takedown, Entrenched. Maybe we drop Pillage and Lightsaber and add like Vigilance, and then maybe like 1 Rival's Fall and like 1 Fell the Dragon or something.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
And we go like, that's where our removal suite is, and if we have to swerve off of the all in on You're My Only Hope, then we swerve into the heavy removal package.
I have one more nonsense card for you to consider for the sideboard.
Okay.
What do you think about Endless Reserves? Or Endless Legions? Like, it's the double green 15 cost.
It'd
event.
be 15 cost for us, right? Because of the...
I think, is it just 15 normally? I can't remember now.
It's 14 normally, so it would cost 18 for us.
Well, if
With
we
your
only have 5 health left, it'd be free. I don't think it would get used very often. And I've tried a deck like that with yellow blue Yoda. I think it might have even been double vigilance Yoda. And I put it in there. And it's really funny because you can put all these off aspect cards, like you can put like Devastator and all sorts of crazy stuff in your resource row. But once you do it once, then your opponent just like, they make sure they can get you from 25 to 30 in one hit. So I don't think it's worth it in this deck, but it could be cute if anybody's watching and wants to have a LOL at their locals. Endless Legions.
Endless
One of my
Legions
favorite
Yoda.
legendaries.
Off You're My Only Hope, play for free. Bring out Devastators, and
That's a different deck, probably. That's a different deck. I like this. I'm excited. I hope someone tells us they brought it to locals and they crush it.
Yeah. So then we'll name this.
Or get crushed, one way or the other.
So there's the Saga.
For a Yoda I believe in.
What?
Yeah.
I believe in
Mr.
Yoda.
Ben's going to be so disappointed in us.
Well, you know what?
I think he's going to think it's cute.
I think
I'm
he's
excited.
going to think it's fun, and then we have like the heavy removal package as our sideboard.
Yeah,
So
we have
we
our
can-
Mr. Ben board at the bottom.
Yeah, we got the Mr. Ben board, and we got the nonsense in the main board. But I think this looks fun. So what I'll do is I will publish this, I guess, for us. This will be
Yeah.
under the SAGA banner. And then I'll post the link to the deck in the show notes and the description on YouTube. And then people can play it and have fun with it and hopefully pull off some crazy You're My Only Hope plays. But I hope this was a fun exercise.
Totally.
I think talking through some of these, and I think it's fun. So live Yoda deck build courtesy of the randomizer on Space Arena Ground Arena. We'll do
So
it
is
again in the
Yoda
future.
removed from the randomizer now, and next time we get a different random hero?
Yeah, I'll remove Yoda. Yep. We'll add set 4 stuff next time. So yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about tonight?
Oh, I mean, I'm just SWU's in a really good spot, I feel like. Prices are reasonable. The reprint has finally arrived. My local meta is dwindling a little bit. I haven't been around, so I'm partly to blame for that. But I really think it's going to take off now that product availability is reasonable. We've just got to settle on like not having 7 events at 7 different stores every day of the week because it just burns people out. But they've got to pick like 2 main stores to do each week, and it's going to be smooth sailing. We've got a big playtest night planned for this weekend with a bunch of people, so maybe I'll bring this deck, and probably not because they'll all watch this and crush me with it. They'll bring Spark and rip You're My Only Hope from my hand.
Spark and Force Throw and Pillage.
It'd be funny though.
Yeah. I think it looks fun. I think SWU of all the games I've played, I feel like it is the best game I've played, like mechanically and how like the game actually flows. It's just the stuff you're kind of worried about, like some of it is like there's still too many like OP questions, I feel like. And like some of that stuff this is really minor, but like the OP packs for this set are like there's no printing. They're just like silver foil, and it's like whatever, but it's like it feels like they're already what somebody said to me is like they're already cutting corners is what someone said to me. Like
I think that I don't have any information, but I think that was just like that's how all of the Marvel Champions OP packs have been the entire life of that game. And that's because they print them at like a different place than they print other packs. So I think they just used that print shop that they're familiar with and didn't use the one from last time. Doesn't mean they're cutting corners. It might just mean they're spreading business, or like that one was too busy and they could do this bonus on the other ones. The quality of the cards are still great. I wish there were more events. Back in the LCG day, they had like monthly game kits, and it was different promos each month and all sorts of stuff, and it really encouraged you to attend your store constantly to try to win these prizes. And there are more PQs in this next season. I'm very excited about that, but like some of the choices of where they are, at least in my opinion, are a little odd. They're like the local one for us is at a store that can't get players. Like I went last week and no one showed up, and I was like, well, this is like I guess they're going to have a PQ here. The other store has 20 people at it right now. You'd think you'd put it there. So I mean, I think they need more things between just like store showdowns are nice, but like most of them aren't getting posted on the website. So like locally, half the store showdowns, half the people didn't know about, the other half the other people didn't know about, and like a lot of that is falling on the community to organize and advertise the store showdowns and the stores, right? The stores should be doing that, but it'd be really nice if that was something that FFG was doing. And they have the website, but like I have found that like I've had to travel a lot for work this fall, and I keep looking for like SWU stores to play at, and like none of them are on the website. They're all there for like I have product, but no one's posting their local events there. And they need a tool, even if it's one that's like people don't like the Bandai one because it has issues and you have to register through it and it has all sorts of problems. But they need a tool that's not just the Melee GG interface that helps people find events. Because I think that that's the key thing that's missing. And I feel like a lot of the things we talked about being worried about before the game came out, of like the FFG likes to say, yeah, we have this new OP thing, it's going to be great. But then almost all the advertising and like community building just falls to the community, which we can do a lot, but we can't do all of it. So I think the increased PQs is great. Announcing the PQs like all at the same time, also great. But I think there's a little bit more needed for it to really like light a fire. Like I don't know if I told you this. I don't play One Piece anymore, right? I still collect it a little bit. I keep like one color and then I trade all the rest of my stuff, restore credit so I can buy Swoop. And the One Piece community here is like exploded. Like when I was playing that game, there'd be like 8 players. They had Swoo and One Piece on the same night earlier this month, and there were 42 people for our One Piece locals.
That's awesome.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's like half the store was One Piece players, and I'm like, this isn't Magic, this isn't Pokemon, this is like some Bandai game, right? But they have an app that tells people where to find things. It's really, well, at least our store claims that it's very easy to post to. I've heard other people give me mixed reviews on that. There's like a ton of prize support that's like oddly not communicated as well as FFG's. It's also been around a little bit longer, so like I'd really like to see that explosion for Swoo, but I think there's like things we need to see in place for it to happen, and not things that the community should have to make. Debbie Downer, sorry. Game's never been in a better spot. New set is amazing. It does all the things I thought it was going to do. I found that wide boards are very possible against the right decks, and that's super fun. It feels mostly balanced. Like I don't feel like the game is incredibly unbalanced at all, which is very impressive. A lot of early TCGs struggle with that. And I mean, like, they responded to community response. I mean, a lot of good things happening. And I want to see it grow.
Yeah, me too. That's all fair stuff. Love Star Wars Unlimited. It's a great game. I want it to do well. I don't want it to be a 3-year project like Destiny was.
No, I think we got more than that in this. We just, we need that explosion that, like, One Piece is seeing. And I don't know what caused that. It'd be really interesting to like get some people that have played One Piece the whole life of that game, like some One Piece podcast group on to tell us like what happened in One Piece that made it explode. Like it was sold out just like Swoo was at the beginning. We experienced the same thing there. And then eventually they sort of figured out the product shortage, but Bandai prints to order, so they still have a short product shortage, like every set, and then they like do reprints to order, so it takes a while. It's very strange. But something sparked that like exploded it to the point that like I remember like at the end of the pandemic when people were still remote, there were a lot of One Piece tournaments online. Mm-hmm. And to like register into one of those tournaments, they'd have like 500-person tournaments. You had to like click the button in the first 6 seconds. And they were all like official tournaments through the website, webcam tournaments. And I think that did a lot to like generate hype for people and excite people. And they just kept upping the numbers on how many people could play in those. And they still do like, they have regionals for One Piece and they have online regionals so people can play from home. And I wonder if that would do a lot for Swoo.
Well, they do that for all their games, right? Like they do the webcam regionals for Digimon still, right? And they do
they used to not do any of that before the pandemic, but now they do online and offline. And like they have different stamped cards for which one it is. And there's all sorts of things that people hate about webcam play that I understand. But for me, as an honest person that is probably mediocre at Swoo, I enjoyed it because it let me play from home and still watch my kids and take care of them during the day and not doom them to being bored at the game store or something else. So I think that, I don't know. I'm excited. I think we're going to get that spark. I don't know when it's going to be, and I hope it's soon. I want to steal those 42 One Piece players and make them Swoo players.
I think maybe like jump to Lightspeed. I think that might be the time. Get another set.
Single player starter decks could do a lot.
Single player starter decks, like adding this piloting mechanic, I think will be like for people that love Star Wars but haven't gotten into the game yet. I feel like that could be the carrot. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
It's coming. We're going to see it. I'm excited.
I mean, it's already doing good. I mean, we got SCGs hosting events, PPGs hosting events. So we have these third-party places hosting events for this game for cash tournaments that we never saw for Star Wars Destiny. So
yeah. LCGs were never even close to that, right?
No. So.
Everything was just FFG organized play.
Yeah. So go out and play in these events. Let's get big numbers at these events so we can get bigger cash payouts in the future.
Run learn to plays and things like that too.
Yeah.
They pay off.
If you got bulk, make decks to give out to people. So you got stuff to help new players out getting into the game. That's what I like doing with bulk, donating it or making like pauper decks out of it and giving it to new players. So for people I'm trying to teach the game here, you can have this deck, you know? All right. A little bit of community building to end the show. So We'll see you in the arenas.
See ya.